The expanded college football playoff is already helping schools, and not in the way that you might think, because your immediate reaction goes to, all right, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State aren't immediately out of the college football national championship picture. LSU lost an early season game to USC. They're still in it. Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, Tennessee, Notre Dame are all still in the picture and still in the hunt to make the college football playoff. But you know who's also in the hunt for the college football playoff? And you know who's also getting recognition that they probably wouldn't have gotten? Army, Navy, Boise State. The group of five is more represented in the latest AP Top 25 than it was at all, essentially, in the 2023 AP poll. Boise State is ranked 15th. Army is ranked 23rd. Navy is ranked 25th. Liberty is receiving votes. The group of five schools are receiving more recognition because of the guaranteed spot in the college football playoff. Because to keep that guaranteed spot, they're going to have to produce good teams year after year after year. And quote unquote big college football is going to participate in that because it helps ESPN, TNT Sports. It helps when the first matchup, the 12 versus 5 seed, isn't unranked Boise State versus Clemson. It's 14th ranked Boise State or 12th ranked Boise State. If you make it appear as if Boise State or Army or Navy or whoever secures that spot, and whoever does that is going to have a really high win total. They're going to have 10 or 11 wins or maybe 12, 13 wins. When you are already in the top 25, when you get to the top 25, it makes people pay attention more to your games during the regular season to begin with. Because when you have that number, when you're scrolling through the Score app or your ESPN app or whatever the case may be, when you are looking through what to watch and you see number 23 Army versus East Carolina, that catches your eye much more than Army versus East Carolina. It does. It's undeniable. You can't look through that and go, okay, Navy at Charlotte. Does that move the needle for you? No, probably not. But number 25 Navy at Charlotte, yeah, that's probably going to get you to pay a little bit more attention than if it just said Navy versus Charlotte or Boise State at UNLV on a Friday night. That do anything for you? Maybe. Number 15 Boise State with a potential Heisman Trophy candidate at running back at UNLV. That's going to grab your attention. And so you pay more attention to those teams, to those games, and more attention on those programs leads to more ideas and more eyeballs that go, you know what? These teams are not bad. These teams are pretty good. Could these teams be in the middle of the pack in the ACC or the Big 12? Yeah. Could they be in the top 5 of those conferences? Yeah, probably. That is an undeniable good thing for the group of 5. The idea that the football played in those conferences is still really high quality is a big win for them. Are they going to ever be viewed as the favorite to win their college football playoff game? No, probably not. And that's okay. But that spot being available means more teams are going to be looked at more closely. When it was just one spot in the New Year's Six, and who really gave a crap if the worst qualifying team for the Fiesta Bowl or whatever played Liberty or played Boise State or played Northern Illinois or whoever made that spot? Are you really under a microscope? No, not especially. But when you get to an expanded 12-team playoff, every single position is under a microscope. And it's going to be that much more magnified when there's only one spot available. There's not going to be a ton of arguments for spots 1 through 11, right? Like if you go 9-3, you only got yourself to blame for why you didn't get spot number 11. But spot number 12, when there's only one only one chance for one of the 70 group of 5 schools to be in that spot, it's going to be scrutinized. It's going to be looked at really, really closely. And so it's going to be dissected. It's going to be diagrammed. It's going to be figured out who deserves this spot. And when you have to know that that is where we have to get to, that the end goal is we have to put the best team, otherwise we're going to get chewed out and torn apart. It makes you do your due diligence before that. So Army and Navy get ranked. Liberty receives votes because people know that the Flames are unbeaten. And so I have to pay attention to them. And you'll have to weigh whether undefeated Liberty is as good as one-loss Boise State, or if undefeated Army or Navy, should they both somehow get past Notre Dame? Who you're going to pick, who you're going to choose, what happens. There's this doomsday scenario where Army and Navy both beat Notre Dame. They both finish undefeated. They end up playing each other in the American Athletic Conference championship game. One wins. That team, the team that wins that conference championship, goes to the college football playoff. Then they play again the next Saturday, and the other team could potentially win. I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's a lot of what ifs in that scenario. But it makes you pay attention to Navy versus Charlotte and Army versus East Carolina, and lets you recognize that these are very good football teams who might not operate the same way and the same function and the same ideas that everybody else in college football operates. And that's the fun of it, is they do things drastically different, and they're still successful. That's what I love about college football. I hate the NFL when every game ends 27-24 because somebody scored too quickly with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, and the other team goes 33 yards in 2 plays with no timeouts. Their kicker kicks a 56-yard field goal. Everybody runs the same offense. Damn near every game ends the same, outside of the Lions trying to get their linemen to score like 6 touchdowns. But college football, there's so many different offenses. There's so many different ways to function and ways to operate and ways to be successful. And you see it on display right now. And it's what makes the sport great. It's what makes Army and Navy being in the top 25 and Boise State being ranked 1 spot behind Texas A&M and 1 spot ahead of 6-win Indiana. It's what makes the sport fun. But having extra eyeballs on people outside of the Blue Bloods, outside of the teams that we know and teams that draw eyeballs, that forces you to watch Army and Navy and Boise State and Liberty and UNLV. That's the fun of it. And more eyeballs on good football is an undeniable good thing for those group of 5 schools. And you are already seeing it pay dividends, because I can't tell you that 6-0 Army and 5-0 Navy wouldn't have been ranked in the top 25 if there wasn't that spot available. But you know what? Vanderbilt and Nebraska are teams 26 and 27. Arizona State is 28. It'd be real easy if you didn't have to have some foresight down the line of who's going to get that 12th spot to just put Vanderbilt, Nebraska, Arizona State in the top 25. And sorry, Army, you're 6-0. You're having a nice season. Navy, you're having a real good year. I know it's the first time you both have been ranked in the top 25 since Lyndon B. Johnson was president or whatever. You're having a nice year. We're proud of you, but we're going to rank Vanderbilt, Nebraska, and Arizona State. And that's not happening right now. And I'm a big proponent of it. I'm a big fan of it, because you know what? If Vanderbilt was to line up against Army, I don't know that I'm choosing the Doors. If Nebraska was going to play Navy, is it a slam dunk that you're picking the Cornhuskers? I don't know. But you know what? If you're 6-0, you're 5-0, you deserve to be ranked, especially if you're a service academy. I'm of the belief that Army, Navy, and Air Force should get automatic bowl bids every year, because you know what? Like, who knows what's going to happen to those dudes? So if they want to play in the Belk Bowl or the Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, by God, let them. But it's what makes college football fun, is the underdog, is the story that you haven't heard yet that is going to come out, that makes you just pumped. And that's what's fun about this to me. And so I'm glad that Army and Navy are in the top 25. I'm glad that Boise State, who played Oregon has every reason to believe they should have beaten Oregon is in the top 15. Because to me, it sure is a lot cooler that the 2 best teams in the American Athletic Conference are ranked rather than the 8th best team in the SEC or the 9th best team in the Big Ten. It's a whole hell of a lot cooler to me that way than the alternative. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. Let me know in the comments below who you think is going to be the Group of 5 representative. Is it Boise State? Is it Army? Is it Navy? Is it Liberty? Is it somebody we're not talking about yet? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out. If you're listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.